Okay, I'm wrapping up my 39th week on compounded tirzepatide. These last couple of weeks, I've moved into the nines. I did a 9.0, and I moved up from January till the end of March. I pretty much was between 8 and 8.5 milligrams. Towards the end of the month, in March, I had a trip, and I only had 5 milligrams left in my vial, and I decided just to go with that. And then that ended up costing me like 3 weeks trying to get back up to 8.5. The beginning of April is when I wanted to titrate up because I'd been in a stall. I lost like 6 or 7 pounds between the 1st of January and the end of March, and I was ready to titrate up to close to 10. I wasn't really sure what, and I ended up getting to 9, and I was really disappointed with midway through that week. To my surprise, I ended up with a lot of food noise that I really haven't had. I've had a little bit of that off and on, in my 9, now I'm in my 10th month. So I'd say I'm seasoned, like I kind of know what the deal is by now. Excuse me. And so the second week in April, I went up to 9.5, had great suppression, very few side effects. I had moved my shot day to Friday so that I had the weekend to kind of recuperate or rest or whatever I needed to do. If I had any side effects, I typically, if I do have any, they happen the first like 48 hours. And so that I'm ready for the work week by the time Monday comes. So I've been sacrificing my weekends for a little, rest if I needed it. Well, last weekend I went out of town and I decided to go back to 9 because I did have so much suppression that week before that I actually bumped into things I hadn't really experienced so much, like some food aversions. I just really couldn't eat that much like the first 48 hours. And while I'm all about, losing a couple of lbs, it was a little strong for me. And but I managed and got through that. And the 9 milligrams that I did before I went on my trip this last week, I guess that higher dose has been building in my system over a 3-week time frame now. I ended up with like amazing food suppression, but also I did have some side effects. So mainly because last Friday, when I clocked out at work at 5:01, my PTO kicked in. I'd given myself a shot after lunch, so 12:30 or so. I went to a little birthday party that night with my friend who was leaving with me the next day to go to Florida. And basically, I won't go into the details. I didn't go crazy. I mean, we were home. I think our Uber came and picked us up at 10 o'clock. So it was not a late night for us, but the alcohol, I was dancing and I got thirsty. And instead of going to the bar and getting club sodas, I had them add Tito's. And while that seemed like a good idea at the time and I was feeling fine, that night I had a great time. The next morning, I still felt like a little bit of a buzz, like the effects of alcohol, but I didn't really feel hungover necessarily, but just I felt it in my system still. And then we left at 11 a.m. to go to the airport to catch a plane, and basically I was a little bit of a train wreck. I almost didn't get on the flight because I really did not feel well, and I ended up taking a Dramamine 2, Pepto-Bismol, and I hopped on the flight. I basically slept most of the time. It was a short flight, easy flight, thankfully, no drama. And I made it down there and really just felt a little off for a couple of days, but it didn't hinder me from most of that trip was about hanging out on the beach by the pool, walking, just doing our thing. So I did it all. I just was a little slightly less energy, wasn't wasn't my like super fun self. So I felt bad for our friends that we took down with us, but we know each other really well, so they forgive me. But anyway, suffice it to say, it's always important to take your bag of tricks with you wherever you go. If it weren't for what I packed in my bag the minute I left in the Uber to go to the airport, I nearly had to pull over, and we hadn't even gotten out of our neighborhood yet. But we had a flight to catch, and so I carried on, and I did make it. But mostly because in my bag of tricks, I had some Kind bars, and I had thrown a hydration electrolytes mixed into my water bottle that I had with me, and I basically felt like I was choking down the Kind bar, but that saved me. And also the water with, I think, some electrolytes probably kept me above board just enough to help me get into place. And then, you know, it's just a little fatigued kind of feeling. So all normal things given the higher dose. And I wasn't surprised by any of it, but I thought if I bumped back down to 9, where I kind of started in April, the beginning of April, that I wasn't expecting to have any side effects at all, because I really didn't that first week. But once again, I've said this before, and I'm sure you're hearing it on repeat at other places too. This, when you go up in dose, it takes about 4 weeks for it to kind of build in your system and do its thing. So I've got tomorrow's shot day. It'll be my 4th in the 9 milligram area. I think I'm going to stick with 9. I might bump back up to 9.5. I did end up losing between 4 and 5 pounds over the last couple of weeks, so I'm happy with that. Although I feel like a little bit of it was from the shock and awe of it, just my body getting used to it. And so I can handle a little bit of that, and I'm going to carry on. I'm getting ready to go and swat some tennis balls with my girlfriends and get some activity in after sitting all day at my desk, and I can't wait. And I'll report back later. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. It's Easter this weekend. We've got some of our family coming in and some friends, and what we thought was going to be a small little dinner has turned into kind of what I'm calling now an Easter open, with some of our also empty nester friends who are around and just are without plans or much family. We live in kind of a transient area, and so that happens sometimes. So we love our friends, don't we? So I'll be prepping for that this weekend, and I'm looking forward to just a nice family holiday time, and I hope you guys enjoy your family and all things spring, and whatever religion or faith system you're in, to have a restful, peaceful, and joyous weekend. Okay, I'll catch up with you next time. Bye.